Australian federal election, which is being held on Saturday the 3rd of May, and I'm recording this video on the 15th of April, but I'll schedule it to be released on the Saturday the 3rd of May, Australian time, in the morning, so it'll be Friday night, the 2nd of May beforehand, so it'll be very sort of timely, I suppose, for this release of the video. So once again with our Senate, there's wait a check, how many columns are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 parties on that side. And must be another 9 here. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 18, and one lot of independents. So I'll go through the paper and we'll have a look at all the parties, people that are standing for the Senate. So the Senate is the upper house and the House of Review. So there's 12 senators from New South Wales, and for this election we're voting for 6 new senators, or maybe some might be rotating as well, and then we're also voting in our local electorate for a member for somebody to be in the House of Representatives, and then those how do I explain how that works? Then a government is formed by whichever party, in simple terms, gets the most people in the people in the House of Representatives. Then they form government, but then the Senate is the House of Review, where the bills are mainly acts of Parliament are proposed in the lower house, and they come up to the Senate to be either debated and approved, or amended and sent back down again with suggestions. So each of these columns represent a different party. So we've got Labor. That's actually the Socialist Equity Party. I'm not sure. I googled those names, but I'm not sure why. They don't have a party name there. Australia's Voice and Fusion. And what you've got to do, either in the box up above the line, you've got to write numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 at least. You can go further than that if you like, in whichever preference. You might have 1 here and 2 back over the page, and then 3 down the end or something like that, until you get to 6 to make it a valid vote. Or if you want to vote below the line, you've got to go 1 at least until 12, or you can, you could, for instance, keep going out for the whole 50 or 60 people there. I'm not sure how many people there are actually standing. Okay, so what I thought I'd do is we'd have a go through and talk about all the parties, maybe talk about their policies and so forth. So the 2 main parties in Australia are Labor, which for some reason they don't spell the U they spell it the American way. But if you were just to write Labour, you would spell it L-A-B-O-U-R. And so the two main parties are Labour and Liberal. If you sort of drew a line centre of the road, then Labour would have slightly policies might be slightly to left of centre, and then the Liberal Party might have policies that are a little bit more, a little bit more to the right, but nothing. They're very sort of a moderate parties. I guess that's the way they get voted in. If they had too many, the Liberal Party had too many outlandish ideas, people wouldn't vote for them. And if Labour had too many left-wing ideas, then people wouldn't vote for them either. So they're very sort of similar policies between the Labour and the Liberals. So that's Labour. This is the Social Equity Party, which is sort of a socialist kind of policies. Australia's Voice, which is has policies of pro-individuals. Australia's Voice, that is anti-corporations, anti-banking, anti-supermarkets. It's interesting. People have always been sort of, for a long while, seem to be anti-bank because they feel they're getting ripped off by their banks, getting charged too much for their home loans and too many fees. Banks make too big of profits. But now that sort of idea has kind of shifted to the supermarkets, where there's only really, four main players in the supermarket, and it's hard to avoid going to one of those four supermarkets. The pricing, so now that's a lot of these people are coming out and having anti-supermarket policies, and in a way, it's, there's a lot of small banks in Australia. There's credit unions, not-for-profit style of banks that you can bank your money with, and so it's easy to get away from the main banks, but it's much harder to get away from the supermarkets to get your groceries. But anyway, and I think a lot of other countries have this as well. The federal government, I'm talking about banks now, guarantee the first $250,000 of your deposit at any bank. So, there's not really any reason why you wouldn't. You sort of would think, well, I'm not going to go with the small banks because, they're not as safe as the big banks. Well, it makes no difference because the federal government's guaranteeing all your deposits up to 250,000 Australian dollars. Anyway, kind of getting off topic there. Okay, I was just actually editing the video, and so I've come back and recorded this little piece, and I'm going to slice it in the middle of my video. But I just realised that I couldn't really not make mention of it, that this party called Australia's Voice is very similar to my channel name, which is His Australian Voice. So no connection, of course, but it's funny, I didn't notice that until I was doing the editing. Let's go on to I'll go back to the original video and go on to the next party in column D. In column D, then we've got fusion. choosing a really good name for your party guarantees that you'll get people, although if you've got a good name like Family First, which is obviously strong family values and community values, which will lead to a civil society, is what the Family First is. So with compulsory voting in Australia, then everybody's got to go and vote, and so you've got the people that are really keen at politics, but then we force, I think it's a $50 fine if you don't vote, and then we force everybody to turn up and vote, and so people are in some ways they're a bit disillusioned. So it's always on the local public school, like a primary school. Usually they have it all, maybe high schools as well. But and they have, you go in there, they usually have some fundraiser. They were there doing a sausage sizzle and a drink. You walk in, and as you walk into the school, people are throwing how to vote cards at you for the major parties, and there'll be the sausage sizzle there to tempt you to have that, fizzy drink, and you get your name marked off, and they hand you this paper, and then you go, and some people, think to themselves, well, who am I going to vote for? And if there's something a name that sort of jumps out of them, well, I'll say, well, I'll vote for, for our Family First, because that looks like an interesting name. Not that they may not have really ever read their policies or anything. But anyway, there's been a few like that, and the way the preferences work between different parties and things. There was a man from Western Australia who he called himself the Motoring Enthusiast Party, and he got into Parliament. I don't think he's still there, but he got 6 years in Canberra, as a senator. And I don't know, probably got himself a cushy job as a senator for 6 years, so good luck to him. And then there might have been other ones as well, but anyway. So this next one is Pauline Hanson's One Nation. So she's been around for a while. Is a very sort of far-right policy, anti-immigration, sort of a white Australian values, white Australia sort of a party. So she gets a bit of support. I don't know. I'm not sure if she's had a senator elected or not. And the next one is the Animal Justice Party, which is rights for all animals, whether it be farm animals, pets, or wildlife. It's pro animal rights. So obviously, if you're an animal lover, you'll see a name like that, Animal Justice, then you might put that in your first 6. If you have to choose, you just never know what you might do. Australian Christians. So it's the life, faith, family, freedom. Put it on their website. That was the things that they stood for. Life, faith, family and freedom for the Christians. I guess if you're a Christian, then in your top 6 if you wanted to. Not sort of saying you should or you shouldn't, but they're all the sort of things that do. Now this is the Libertarian Heart, Gerard Renwick, People First. I think it's another decisions about your own health rather than being kind of forced to do things. Then you can make your own decision. I'm not sure if that means that they I'm not sure really exactly what that means, but anyway, that's the Libertarian Art Right-wing People First Party. Now, just one thing I'll say, obviously, with you often get the donkey vote when people just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 and hand their paper in. So obviously, being an A is pretty ideal for getting extra votes from people that are happy just to put anything down. And obviously you probably don't really want to be at the end, I suppose, because it's it's a lot to look through. Work out what you want to do. Especially when you're there thinking I could go outside and buy a sizzle sausage on a piece of fresh white bread with some onions and maybe some tomato sauce or barbecue sauce, Probably can smell it inside the polling booth as well. Okay, now, what am I into? Okay. Now the next one is the legalised cannabis party. So they always seem to get a run. Legalised cannabis party, and so actually I read their website and it was actually saying that people should be free to smoke cannabis if they want to, not at the moment. I don't know what the rules are really, but it might be, you may be able to get a prescription and to get it, but they're sort of saying it should be free for everybody. Actually that's the platform, so just saying that, not advocating that or anything, just saying that's their platform, which is what I've done with all of these parties so far. Well, not to saying whether it's good or bad, but okay, so the Sustainable Australia Party, there we go, and the Universal Basic Income. I think one of the Scandinavian countries, I don't know if they were doing it or just talking about it, but we give everybody a certain amount. I think they had $500 a week. That's Australian 6 senators, I would expect that, you'd get 2 or 3, maybe 3 Liberal Nationals. You might get 2 or 3 Labor, and then you might get 1 6th person, might be perhaps somebody from one of these other small parties. I don't really know. That's how all the preferences work. There we go. Oh, Jackie Lambie Party. She is a senator from Tasmania. She's often on the TV, interviewed and things. She really is, what would be the word, passionate, I think, about things getting stuck into people. is, yeah, the government electoral commission keeps the 2,000. I actually thought to myself, it'd be fun to have your name down here, so, just for the sake of it. Steve Messi, independent. We could have the ASMR party, couldn't I, or something like that. Just amusing myself there thinking about that. Anyway, but, well, I think I do remember it being $500 a few years ago, but I think that might have contributed to the extremely long ballot papers, so 2,000 is more of a disincentive for people, let's say, to do it. I do know somebody that was down in this section, but I never ever got to ask him, why he actually was standing. It was a few years ago now, but he's probably I know why I didn't ask him, because I thought to myself I was probably going to get an ear bashing if I'd asked him, but anyway, which is probably why I didn't ask. And I probably didn't really know what to, how to frame the question either. But anyway, I don't think he had a website, I can't remember. Anyway, okay, so the reason I have this ballot paper is because I've applied for a postal vote, and that's the genuine reason, because I'm going away. I won't be around in Australia on election day, so